Good evening. Call the meeting to order at 6:01. Ask if you join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Good evening. Sure. There are no minutes to approve at this meeting, so we will begin with public comments. Seeing as there are none, we'll move on to the agenda review. Is there anything that the board would like to add or move on the agenda? All right. Next up, consent items. We have one.
Yep, you have a staff request for leave. If you wanted to discuss this, it would need to be done in non-public session, but it's pretty straightforward, and I believe Mrs. Liddy was consulted on this one.
Okay.
This was not in the drive, it just came through.
It wasn't in the back?
I didn't see it in the drive when I looked
No, I
earlier
thought it
today.
was.
Maybe I
Is it
didn't.
in the printout here?
It should be. It has Deerfield Community Letter School letterhead. Okay, if you wanted it, we can do it. I can pass it around now, or we can do it now.
I just haven't looked at it yet. I'm happy with either way.
We'll just do it in non-public.
Okay.
So the Deerfield School Board is planning on doing a tour of the facility tonight, led by the administration, to look at what's going on in the building, get a first-hand view of it, and start thinking about how best to use the funding that was approved by the voters last year as we move forward. So we're going to turn off the video at 6:04, and I will let you know when we come back.
One. Go.
All right, we are back in the meeting room after touring the facilities. It is 7:03. I would ask the board if they'd be willing to switch the conversation on the 6th grade trip with the warrant articles, as Mr. Gross has so nicely waited for us while we wandered around the building, and we could continue our discussion with Mr. Gross. Is everyone okay with that?
Yes.
All right, come on up. So we have a draft, or does, I think there was
This
some.
is it.
This is it, we're done. Okay.
Is this the one that you had sent me?
This is, I believe we did not make any changes. So the one I sent you
Oh,
is,
we changed a couple of words, but it was nothing of significance.
so do we have a copy for,
Is that one in front of you, I think?
This is the one that,
Oh,
this is a
you
new one?
want the one to me.
there maybe is there an extra copy for you?
Yeah, I made a later, I might have made a somewhere else.
So we have our standard Article 1 of the budget. And Article 2 is dealing with the para contract. And I think either Nate or Gigi will talk to that, because you guys were the negotiators and answer questions on that one.
Will you take the lead on the first one?
I will. Or someone will, or Zach can.
Yeah.
Zach would actually be better.
Okay.
And then,
I suspect there'll be a bit of discussion about the budget. This, my God, so. You think? A good bit.
Good chance.
Maybe a good bit.
could be. Article 3, Ken, you want to do that one?
I have a question, just a substantive question at number 2. So, the dollar amounts, are these the same dollar amounts as were indicated last year in the same article, or are they different?
No, this is the brand new
Contract.
negotiated contract with the paraprofessionals.
Okay, so last year
Last year's was the teachers.
Got it.
Yeah.
And the dollar amounts are significantly
Yes.
less.
So we try to keep alternating schedules between bringing a teacher contract forward and a para contract forward. And last year we did 4 years for them, and this is a 4-year proposal to put in place. So 3 kind of speaks to itself. 4 is the board's intent with this is to start down the path of dealing with the space issues in this building. And also to ask the first substantive hard question of the voters to get a sense of what the support in the town is for moving forward in such a huge endeavor. So this is kind of taking the first step forward on whether or not people are going to be supportive of an addition or a restoration or whatever it winds up being. So it's a long process, and it will be a lot more than $250,000.
Who will take the lead on this one?
Ken, you want
That'll
to?
be there.
And what do you imagine will be the primary discussion points?
One will be what the budget. Well, let me start this way. The budget committee recommended actually changing the word instead of addition. They suggested a more generic term, so funding. We didn't spend it all directly toward it was to make it more flexible. We didn't get that done in time where the legal opinion was not to.
It would have required more discussion on the board's part, and there wasn't a meeting. This was just suggested a couple of weeks ago. We already had the public hearing. The board wasn't meeting until tonight. So the legal counsel was concerned about changing the title because the title meets the intent of the article. So you're talking, in the title is School Addition Capital Reserve Fund, and then the description talks about the construction of an addition. So to change that would water it down and not necessarily inform the voter of the intent. Right. And that he felt like the voters needed to be informed of the exact intent.
And there is no way that restoring this current footprint is going to provide enough space.
Right.
There's going to be additional building if we go down this
Right. But the discussion about the warrant article itself, hopefully you don't go down too many rabbit holes with that, but people are probably going to question the dollar base dollar. But that
Well, and that's only a portion.
it's only a
It's the
portion,
first installment.
right?
So
We went with
less than
that.
an installment.
We went with that amount to, like Jim said, to try and get a sense of the commitment of the community in asking them.
And that will,
That will scare.
well, not only that, but that's a starting point for funding plans to be able to fully.
Sure.
It will be spent very quickly, I think.
And the studying, designing, planning.
Which can cost quite a bit more than departments of starting point to get.
And I think the board is also going to emphasize that this is tax money, even though we're asking for it to come out of surplus, that this is tax money. And
Right.
regardless of whether or not it's funded out of its current year or the previous year,
Well, it does
This
have
is a
the
big
word
question.
from additional taxation, so it's fairly clear
Right.
in that respect, whereas in prior years it hasn't had additional,
Right.
so.
Already appropriated.
Back to the question about the wording and the naming, is this changeable at the deliberative session? Is there anything about this that
if
could
the
be?
intent, well, it would have to not change the intent of the article.
Okay.
Right?
Yeah, I just don't, you said legal counsel advised that the title shouldn't be changed, but, somebody said, well, take the word addition, call it improvements, something like that.
Expansion or
Yeah,
Yeah.
however.
alteration.
The language after the title is fairly clear as to how it should be used, right? So, I'm not a lawyer, I don't play one on TV, but the intent is pretty clear from the follow-on language as to how it could be used, right? I suppose another question would be, these other existing reserve funds, we want to make sure that any title changes don't conflict or overlap in any way?
We don't have anything like this.
We have nothing like this.
Okay.
So, everything else is like restoration or improvements or repairs. It's none of it is addition.
It's more expansion.
Will there be a
Sheet
summary
of
sheet of
fund balances.
information? Not only that, but just further sort of narrative explanation of the background behind. Because there have in the past.
It was the intent of the board that we were going to discuss having a measure of some sort, not just around that question, but around other questions as well.
Yeah, well, you're not talking about the packet that comes out from the town,
No,
Or
there's
are
usually a handout.
which we made.
Isn't there a handout?
Yeah.
We've done that, yeah. We need to write it so that, and then review it so it's purely informational.
Yeah.
So
Right.
it has not been drafted, but it's,
I could imagine that there could be questions, maybe even in the first warrant article, but also on this one. Tell us what the demographic trends are, what's the forecast. If there is that kind of information available, potentially could be helpful.
I did put something together that I was hoping to bring up maybe at some point tonight. Maybe this was the time to do it, but maybe after we finish this discussion, we could go over that. It's in the packet, but I was a draft or something along those lines.
awesome. And then 5 and 6 are both asking the same question in a different way. The intent of 5 and 6 is to get a sense of a larger percentage of the voting body in regards to what would be amenable for high school, the thought around high school choice as we're coming towards the end of the contract with Concord. The first one just asks the question straight out. The second one asks with a guesstimate of additional costs, but it is a reasonable guess. There very well may be more than that, it may be less than that, but it's
How was that number arrived at? Is it
it's basically the difference between Concord and Co-Brown in this one.
Yep.
And the reality is that if we opted out or reduced our population at Concord, we would not be most likely still not be paying the same rate as we are now. They would probably negotiate a different rate based on the number of kids. So I think costs, the more choice you put out there, the more likely costs will rise. We don't get the bulk discount.
And though these also could both be changed during the deliberative session.
Yep.
Not the intent, but the language could be changed.
And they're informational for the school board to get a sense of the community.
Do you want me to
I would
speak to
love if
those?
you could speak to those.
Gigi, would you mind doing number 2? And I'll do number 5 and 6.
Sure.
Do you have a plan?
Any questions?
No, this is great. Thank you
This is
for
fun.
having me.
I am sorry we made you wait. I forgot about our grand tour while I was
I saw that on the agenda. I was like, are they just talking about it? Or are they doing it? I hope it was a good one. All right, thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Since we're still on warrant articles, should we discuss your,
Yeah, if you don't mind, that would be
and do you have a copy of that for Eric while he's here?
Sure. Don't mind.
This may change, but
Oh, it will. There's big blanks in it.
to give you a sense of what we're talking about.
Was there something else I should have?
This is the draft of the thing, the handout that we're gonna work on.
That's just a very rough draft.
Okay.
It's not very rough.
Thank you. Good night.
All right. So what I did was, and I was just saying it's a rough draft, but I tried to put some of the rationale behind these two, and like you were saying last meeting, Jim, the idea that going in cold with not enough information is not going to give us an accurate readout when we get the numbers back from these warrant articles. So I tried to put enough background information to make it understandable, accessible to the voting public, and I don't know. Take a look at it for a second.
I think it was 6 years ago that, or more, that we renegotiated.
I think I actually went back and looked at the contract, and like the date was, maybe I can say 6, that's fine, but I feel like it was
2014.
It was right before I joined the board, which was right before I.
2014.
I thought you were on the board.
You were on it.
I think they voted,
You were on the board, I think, at that point. I think you had just got on.
or they voted like, yeah. Alright. It's been a long time. Right.
Do you want me to make those changes, and do you want to go through this and process this right now?
I mean, you say about 5 years ago, that's fine.
Okay.
Do we want to use, so, like when you have the high school cost, do you want to list like what our current,
That was what I was planning to do, but I just didn't get there
it's
in
in our
time.
budget, so
Right.
those figures.
Yeah.
For Concord, we need to include capital costs as well.
Okay.
The capital fee
Yeah.
as part of that tuition, because that's
Yeah.
really what it costs.
I can do that.
We're not using, those are the only four we're using right now, right?
I think I just picked those. I don't know why I just picked those.
I think, and I don't, actually, we don't have anybody with both, I
No.
don't believe at the moment, so I would just remove, well.
But it's informational. It's the local high schools that we have been using over the last 3 or 4 years that might be. That's why I clip. I'm happy to take it out, but that's why I put it though. That was my decision. Process.
This is well written. Thanks for doing this.
So you warrant article number 3 and 4.
Oh yeah, I got the numbers wrong. It's 5 and 6, right? Thank you. I was guessing at the time.
Can I make one
Yeah.
radical
Please.
suggestion while I'm front and center of my brain? Second paragraph, our contract with Concord is set to expire in 3.5 years.
Mhm.
With that in mind, the Deerfield School Board is seeking guidance from the community regarding how to proceed. Instead of saying no negotiations have begun, I would reword that to negotiations have not started yet.
Sounds good.
Suggestion. Other than that, this is really well written.
I think we want to talk about how we are already over capacity.
Do you mean on the second page?
Yeah.
That does not come out? I mean, so, okay, that's a good point. So overcapacity, according to whom? I feel like part of the splitting hairs is who do you want to talk to? Because you can negotiate what?
Sorry, there is part of that space needs presentation.
They gave us
It's a suggestion from the state. It's a guideline. It's a guideline from the state. It's not
So-
required.
So per state guidelines, we are over capacity. Okay.
If we are building new, if this building was built today,
Yeah.
it would be designated for 400 and
Yeah.
something students.
Okay.
And then,
Yeah.
I think the only other thought I have
Yeah.
is where the questions are on the warrant.
Yeah.
It's gonna be, the tuition questions are second, and then the building questions.
Switch the order,
first.
yeah.
Switch the order so it follows the same flow as the warrant
Yeah,
article does,
that's a good point.
just so it's consistent.
If you can't find it on the drive, let me know. I'll make sure
Do
that
you mean the recommended capacity number?
the
I can-
space needs worksheet,
Yeah.
the Excel
Okay, I can get that.
presentation and all that. I think you said that, because I tried to, Gigi, you had asked for it a couple weeks ago.
I think Kathy put it outside of the prior year's board meetings, because if you're not on the board during that year that it was presented, you wouldn't have access to that folder, yeah. So she was supposed to do that. Did you look? Right, I'll check. I'll make sure it's.
It's a separate folder,
Is it?
Space
Okay,
Needs is a
good.
separate folder,
That's what
yeah.
it's supposed to be, okay, good.
And what specifically are you looking for in there right now?
Do you have that?
The other more of a formatting question I had about this was that, and the part of the reason I didn't quite finalize some of that stuff was that what doesn't, when you print off or if this is going to be mailing, what does that mean? Is it, well, ideally one piece of paper that gets folded and stapled or something like that, and then the address is on one
Resident.
side? Resident.
Or is the intent to mail this as well as have it available deliberative? Is the intent to make it electronic and just push it through?
It would be it's about $500 to do a townwide mailing.
Do you bulk permit?
Is that
We don't
per,
have a bulk
We let that
permit.
expire, I believe, right?
Yeah, you're right, yeah.
So, my only fear is I don't want it to be perceived as any level of electioneering.
Right.
Which it doesn't appear to be to me, but I would want an opinion.
I
Yeah.
typically run
Have
through,
to
yep.
read it.
I guess I was, in terms of timing, I would think about mailing it in March before the vote, not before the deliberative, because there's only gonna have 50 to 100 people here for the deliberative session, so there's no reason mailing this ahead of time anyway, in
Right,
case
so
everything gets
present it at a
changed.
deliberative session, make it electronic and then mail it.
So maybe could we have, if I can get this tweaked in the next week or so, could we get it to legal to look at before and then print it for the deliberative session like we've done in the
And
past?
then mail it out.
And just print 100 copies or something. And then, I don't know what that, like, again, because the $500 for mailing, is that per page, per sheet? Because currently I have this set up to
I think
take,
it's done on weight, so it would be like up to an ounce. I don't remember off the top of my head, but I think it's like
I mean, so currently
standard
this is,
letter, a standard mailing that's about that.
currently it's set up as one sheet of paper
Yeah.
with no room for an
But you
address.
wouldn't be able to, right.
So do I play around with the formatting to try to get it down to one sheet of paper
Or does
that
it go
goes
in an envelope and cost a little bit more?
I think it's okay to fold it and put the address.
So just shrink what I have, or somehow, I believe I have to condense it down to one
I've
page,
done that.
down to
Yeah,
I think our Pembroke one was 2 pages.
2 pages, but that would double the
Folded.
cost though?
I don't think it would do.
I don't think
don't
it
think-
did, no, it wasn't a
I think
lot.
it's like a weight.
is
Like,
it,
So you're saying I can use more space then and go up to 2 pages?
check with the post office. I do not work there.
Okay.
so another question though is if you're gonna do that, do a mailing to everybody in town?
Yeah.
Is it beneficial to include the actual warrant? It'll go out when the town does their.
Voter day.
But we gotta wait until after deliberative for the actual.
Right, but does it make sense to just include, so like the school is gonna send out its own pile of stuff. Here is some information, this is a copy of the warrants. You've seen it all.
Or just the ones that are,
I mean, you could trim, 1 and 2 out of it per se and just do it in reference to, 3.5, or 4, 5, and 6, I guess, sorry, 4, 5, and 6.
right,
Um,
okay.
That's just a food.
All right, so I think I'm hearing that I will fix it like we've been talking about here, keep it at 1 page, and in the next few days get it to you, and you'll send it to legal, and then we'll get it printed for the deliberative session. And then, depending on how that goes, I'll change it and go up to maybe 2 pages after I talk to the post office and figure out how that mailing works and send it out early March. Okay,
Sounds good.
great, thank you.
Any other suggestions, or is everybody agree with it?
I just, and I don't know if this would be okay to put in, but under number 2, on the first one for Concord High School, you have that the contract would need to be renegotiated.
Mhm.
And I'm wondering if people understand what that means. So I didn't know if we could, if there was a way to follow up with a sentence like there's a likelihood that the cost would be higher.
I thought, I didn't put that in because does that now cross the line of trying to
It might.
lobby or to
And you
electioneer?
could add it and then Dean can let us know.
Okay.
If he thinks it's.
I just didn't, I just, because a lot of people who are not in the weeds on it all the time might say, oh yeah, so you have to renegotiate the contract, not understanding that renegotiate the contract means that
Potentially
potentially
changes in
the
rate.
cost for people will be
All right.
higher.
Design capacity.
Yeah.
Department of Education.
It says like 480 or
We
something.
currently pay the same
Yeah,
amount that
the orange
Orange
actually
gets for.
comes out to 393
Without
for our
the
square
yes.
foot, our current square
So
footage.
that's-
Without the modulus. 393?
Correct.
Okay,
I
great.
mean,
Thanks.
maybe
Well,
we
my court
can
judge-
say that.
Well,
use it.
theoretically, we
393
have to keep those our
Yeah.
share of their
what
capital
we're-
projects. So
according
I
to
should
those.
say,
Right.
All right, thank you.
Fair
Our
enough.
current numbers are 533.
Yes.
Maybe you even wanna say that we are currently paying the same amount that Concord pays for their high school education.
Okay.
and that
Okay.
just as factual.
Number of the building.
Design capacity is 303. Per department head recommendations.
Let's see, yeah.
400 square foot.
393, you said?
Yeah, that's right.
And maybe you can pull some of that information off of that, included if you're trying to fill another partial page.
Sure.
If that source from the OE is on, so we can cite a source.
It's all cited for
Okay.
presentation.
Alrighty. Everybody happy with suggestions on that? Nate, do you have enough guidance there?
Yes.
Alright.
Thank you.
So if we could go back to our sixth grade trip conversation. I think we were gonna talk about some costs or numbers and
Kristen,
Yep.
did you get more info?
Yep, we talked with the sixth grade team, and there's about 49, 50 students in the sixth grade. We figured 5,000 would be a reasonable number to ask for. That cuts $100 off for every kid. The cost is $450 or $60, something like that. They've already put a deposit down, so it's hard to tell which money was fundraised and which money was deposit. So we figured a blanket amount of about 5,000 if we had that kind of support.
make it easier. And that would bring it in line more with what
With what they
Beach
paid
was.
at Ferry Beach. And although they did keep telling me that Ferry Beach has since increased their prices because they've moved to a new location, so if we went to Ferry Beach, we'd be faced with the same situation.
Similar costs.
Very similar costs, so.
So, was there money in the budget that was currently being contributed to this?
No,
Next
it's in
year.
the budget for next year.
So it was in for next year.
No, it was 10,000 for next year.
We put in 10K for next year. So that would be, for 50 students, would be about $250 a student, maybe the families would be responsible for.
Well, there's the next year's class number is about 68 students.
Okay.
So it's a bit bigger.
Changes that now.
It does.
Could you speak a little bit to the changes that have happened over the last year since in previous years there was a large amount of fundraising that came from the fair, which was funding from outside of Deerfield, and now we're asking taxpayers to do the
No,
funding.
the fundraising committee for sixth grade has done a ton of fundraising so far. They've tried to think outside the box. They've approached restaurants and the Candy, a travel spot, and a certain amount of percentage of their dinner sales go towards the sixth grade fundraiser. Eighth grade has also hopped on that. And PTO did too, the travel spot. They've taken over the fundraising for the, Thanksgiving. They had little things that they were selling for the kids, and Christmas or the holidays, around the holidays. They've, what are some other things? So they have tried to increase, I think the fair brought in $2,000 or so dollars.
It wasn't a fair booth this year.
Right, but in the past.
In the past, it didn't make that much. It's a lot of work.
Do you know how much has been raised already? About?
That's why it's hard to tell because we had a deposit put in there for they had collected money from kids to do a deposit.
Dash together.
And then, so as soon as this is done, it's immediately they're back to fundraising for their eighth grade trip.
Yep. And there are a lot of parents who have 6 and kids in 6 and
Yeah.
They should have waited an extra year.
Ahead to middle school and
Mr.
their family planning.
Mr. Oxnard?
And the other one was just a check on the budget. I mean, this isn't a huge amount of money, but just, do we have any idea about where we just
I did not get updated numbers for this week.
But last time we checked, we were 150 something. So I will make a motion that we approve $5,000 towards the 6th grade trip.
Second.
Discussion. Seeing none, all in favor? Aye.
Aye.
All right, PTO reports.
Hello, PTO.
So we had our first meeting since last year. November, last night. We are going to this spring try a new fundraiser selling spirit sticks. In the school, it's a plentiful little thing that the kids can buy and collect and all that stuff. Don't really know all that much about it, but it's coming. We're gonna start next month planning our move-a-thon that we have in May. We decided last night to donate funds to the town library for an informational night that they're gonna screen a documentary called Screen Angels. We donated funds last night with focus to purchase a school mascot costume. We set a date for candidates night, which would be February 12th, that's a Wednesday. We set a date for Grandparents' Day, which would be April 10th. We set our dates for Teacher Appreciation Week. We have our first triathlon meeting next Monday, and we have our next PTO meeting on the 8th.
Awesome. Any questions from the PTO?
I just have one. When will we start to be able to use the shed to schools?
Anytime now, right?
The offsite location, was installed today, so.
Tomorrow?
So we can move something tomorrow.
Really?
Sure. That's a key.
Key.
There's no shelving or anything yet, but.
Alright, I was just wondering.
It's no longer the school board shed, now it's administration shed.
Alright, Adrian and I can build shelves.
Okay, well, I'll put you to work.
Andrea has a box truck or something floating around her house, if I remember right.
That's good.
Do we, since the question of shoveling has come up, do we want to wait until we get a sense of exactly what's needed, or do we want to approve an amount up to that allows the administration to buy shoveling at this point and move forward?
Sure.
I would say an amount up to, but what,
$2,500 should be more than enough to go bonkers, so I'll move $2,500 for shoveling for the shed.
Up to 2,500?
Yeah.
I will second that. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye. What are your locker rooms again?
You have shelves?
No, shelves.
We just need to put items on the shelves in totes.
In the
So
shed.
you like approve some money for totes. You can do that too.
Well, you have $2,500 to play with.
Well, you
Shelves
said
and
shelves.
You said shelves.
Shelves, I amend my motion for shelves and totes.
You gotta do a different motion, that was already done.
That one's fine.
Yeah.
For organizational supplies.
You want $500?
Yeah, I'll move $500 for totes and organizational supplies for the shed.
Second.
Yeah, and I really don't wanna talk about that.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.
Yes.
I'm gonna walk through that shed.
Give us a few weeks, please.
Concord High School report is they are not here. So it's just, we'll talk to them soon. They just got back to school. What I can tell you is that they just finished midterms. So they started a new semester yesterday, Tuesday, sorry. Which is yesterday.
Yeah.
You're correcting me. All right, staff reports, there's no staff report. Executive board report, there's a meeting tomorrow night, so there's nothing to report at this point. Principals report.
All right. This covers December 19th, the day after our last meeting, up until today, January 22nd. So Happy New Year. I hope 2020 has been good to you so far. We have been able to celebrate with our classes of the week. I was able to visit Miss Maxfield's class. Mr. Grieve was Mrs. McLaughlin's class last week, and Miss Laskowski's class is the class of the week this week. She's 4th grade, Maxfield's 5th grade, and McLaughlin is 1st. On December 19th, before the holiday, 8th graders had a good visit to Concord High School. They came and went, and we didn't hear much fuss or muss, or it was a
Overwhelmed
good
as
visit.
usual.
Overwhelmed as usual. That same evening, we had our winter concerts for grades 1 through 4, which was a huge success. During the holiday break, our cafeteria was painted and our soundboards were installed. So a big thank you to Mike Greenwood and to Mr. Hansen who did the painting. It looks fabulous. We've received a ton of positive feedback about the soundboards. People really feel like it has definitely made a difference in the cafeteria. We had a smooth return back to school on January 2nd for our 2 days. It was nice to get in, and then we had our full week. Our DARE officer, Officer Millette, has started back up in 5th grade. His first visit was last Tuesday. The Tuesday before, January 7th he returned, and he will be here on Tuesdays and Thursdays visiting with our 5th graders, working with our 5th graders. Because we have 4 5th grades, he divided it between 2 days, and that works for him. He is a pleasure to have in the building. He is wandering around, talking with kids, participating in PE classes, supporting kids who might need a little regulation moment. He's been great to have in the building. The kids love seeing him and saying hello to him, and building that relationship with the police department has been a real positive. On January 10th, we had our monthly all-school meeting. Our 4th graders did a fabulous job hosting. We did a sign language greeting for good afternoon, friends, and then our group activity was, we did a who am I type game where, because the 4th graders do biographies, so they had the hosts picked 3 different people, and the 3 4th grade teachers came up and had to ask yes or no questions to the audience. We had the person on a projector in the back, so we had Milton Hershey was one of them, and so the teacher had to guess who was behind them and ask, yes, is it a boy? Yes. And then is this person still alive? No. And they were able to guess. So we had Milton Hershey, Walt Disney, and Mr. Grieve. That was a huge hit, and I think the teacher guessed pretty quickly that it was somebody that was in the building, and have you ever been to this person's office? And the answer was yes! It was pretty funny. Very thankfully. So that was a lot of fun. The kids loved doing that. And then Kristen Davis and Elizabeth McGovern have started back up with the Keys to Literacy training. That was something that Jackie Veal was very passionate about when she retired as the mentor facilitator. She had been doing the training for that with our new staff. Kristen Davis and Liz McGovern got trained themselves, participated in the online training, went to a workshop this school year. They've started up with all of our new teachers, 6 weeks, I think. I think there's a 6-week session. And then Kristen and Liz have posted what the topic is going to be and have offered any teachers who would like to come for a refresher throughout the next 6 weeks. Mr. Grieve is joining them. He is. Mm-hmm. We had our mid-year retreat with administration from the SAU, so all administrators, special ed coordinators, assistant principals got together at the Pembroke Public Library last week and had a wonderful day. We learned a little bit about Appletrack, which is that okay to say that? Okay. It's an online application system. I don't know if anybody outside of education use it. It's a frontline product.
Yeah, I don't know that. I don't think so, but I'm not sure.
Frontline is the program we use for My Learning Plan, which teachers use for keeping track of their professional development hours. Appletrack is so if we have a job posting, it connects right to it will link right up to a job spot. Teachers interested candidates can apply right online. There's a whole process they can go through. You can ask specific questions about your school. For example, what is your experience with competency-based education? And they would have 250 words or less type thing. And so it will be a great resource for the district for sure. So we learned about that. We also talked about our March Professional Development Day that's coming up in this March. That will be held at Pembroke. Every single person in the entire district will be attending, including our paraprofessionals. We're looking forward to a great professional development day with the focus of social emotional learning. And lunch was provided by Roots in Hooksett, and it was delicious. And we ended with a very positive note about one great thing that's happening in everybody's school. And it was very hard to pick one particular thing. But it was great to hear about all the positive things that are happening in the district on behalf of our kids. Yesterday, we had our UNH intern breakfast, so potential interns that are interested in interning at DCS for the 2020-2021 school year. We're here, we had 10 potential interns. We're very fortunate this year to have 2 interns that are interested in a dual cert between elementary, and one person is interested in doing Spanish, and the other one was interested in a middle school English language arts teacher. So we don't know if they'll end up coming to us, but it was exciting that I haven't seen a middle school person in a little bit. So they were here. They were treated to a wonderful breakfast by our cafeteria crew. They put on a nice little spread for them. They had a tour of the building by our current interns. We have 2 current interns. We had a third, but she was art and she's moved on to the high school, but she came back. She actually ended up staying for the day. So we had a lot of positive feedback from the interested interns. Brian and I met with them for a little while. Paul Yerjo was involved as well, as he's the supervisor. And the teachers, we have quite a few teachers who are interested in getting it and having an intern in the fall. So there's lots of visits to classrooms, and our DCS honor students also participated in the tour of the building. So it was a very nice morning for all involved. Today, Brian and I met with Chris Motika. We're working on solidifying our middle school plan for next year, for the 2020-2021 school year. We're heading in a very positive direction.
You like seeing this?
I do. It's fun. You should try it. Don't say it 10 times fast. And once we have more information about what our plan is, we will definitely provide updates to the school board. And I just would like to mention a few important dates that are coming up between now and the next school board meeting. Tomorrow we have our Kids Heart Challenge that's kicking off. I know that's a big fundraiser in town, so we have a visiting jump rope demo team that's coming to show off their skills for our kindergarten through 4th grade. I'm sure you have been here for some demos. Tomorrow night is our family math night for grades K through 4, and our math specialists and our teachers are so excited. They've got some money from Focus, and they were able to purchase some big, huge, interactive games that are just, they're going to be on the floor, and it's going to be a lot of fun. A lot of preparation, but they've done a nice job. Our teachers have done a nice job to get ready for tomorrow. Also next week we have career day for 8th grade, so we'll have some people in the building to talk about their careers. On Tuesday, Mr. Flower will be visiting from Concord High School to talk to our 8th graders at 1:30, and that evening at 6 o'clock he will be talking to our 8th grade parents.
Tuesday, what evening is it?
Tuesday, January 28th.
Thank you.
It had to get rescheduled. It was originally for, I think, the 30th or no, the 29th.
Next day, the Wednesday, yeah.
But
What time is it?
6:15.
It was at 6:15.
Yes, we're
Thank you.
just pushing it back 2 minutes in case the basketball game goes over.
Oh, gotcha.
We have a home game.
Gotcha. And then just one last thing, our Tiger Assembly was able to be rescheduled. That will be next Thursday, the 30th. Our K through 4 crew will see a show in the morning titled Brand New Day, and our 5th through 8th grade will see a show in the afternoon called Bystander, A Portrait of Apathy. So that's next Thursday, and then a parent workshop will be in the evening. We'll have it right here in the library where the parents can come and spend some time with the Tiger group, and they'll put on a nice interactive workshop about what the kids did during the day and how they can tie it into for parents.
What's the gist of Tiger?
It's the theater group out of Plymouth State University.
Right.
They tour and they do. Say that again.
Addresses bullying or something along that.
Yeah, the one is called Brand New Day, and then the other one is called A Bystander, A Portrait of Apathy. And so, yeah, they talk about Tiger is an acronym for tell someone.
Identify.
Yeah.
I can't remember all that.
Yeah.
A lot of acronyms in this field.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. And I believe, our current enrollment is 533. And thank you, that's it, yes,
Can I ask some questions?
of course.
One was about your retreat with the administrative team.
Yep.
At our SAU board meeting, seems like a long time ago now, there was a presentation by you and other administrators about the scheduling in our SAU. Did that come up? Has there been any, in terms of, I know that maybe in the next month we're going to be talking about our schedule. Has there been discussion, or, I don't know, who wants to answer that?
The calendar goes to the executive board tomorrow night, so we're hoping to have some buy-in with the executive board reps from each town.
Okay.
And once that happens, we'll bring the calendar back to the full board, to each individual board, and hopefully be able to have some common time together.
This was that coordination of schedules, right?
Great. And you mentioned Chris Motikin. I do remember that he came in a year ago maybe, and talked about sort of, it was a kind of a competency-based ed kind of presentation. Is in your work with him, is that maybe on the future, will he be doing some sort of an update or coming to sort of let us know or give us a...
I'm sure Chris would be glad to do, if that's what the board would, that's what the board's request, then he would be glad to come and do a presentation. The work that we're going to be doing moving into next year does include work with competency-based education. He's going to work on, through the work that we need to do, he's going to include that. So, but I'm sure he would be happy to come and do a presentation for the board.
Maybe as a follow-up of from last year, I think. Maybe just an update.
Do you mind waiting until after the PD day that he's in the middle of organizing for March, like maybe the second meeting in March, is that okay?
Sure.
Sure. Great, I'll ask him to do that.
No.
What? Well, you can sit in the audience. You can still come.
Alright,
That was it.
anything else, or you're good?
I'm all set.
Curriculum?
I was not able to make it. How did it go?
I had to stand in for the
Thank you very much.
You're welcome. We basically were in need of a community rep. We have a community rep, the position that we were trying to fill. We filled that. Andrew Riordan joined us as a community rep for the 3-year period, but another member had to, due to some changing of things, had to unfortunately cannot commit. So we are in need of a community rep again.
Okay.
Mr. West visited and presented the PE curriculum, gave us some background as to how he and Mrs. Lance have developed what they developed. And we have a couple of staff and community members that are doing their reading. So that's between now and the next meeting, which is in March, they will do the reading of the PE curriculum. We talked about the ELA competency revision being added back in, a competency convention, a convention competency being added back onto the report card as a report out. There was a lot of discussion about the history of where conventions meaning the conventions of writing, capitalization, and we discussed a lot about one of the reasons why it was not part of the competency rubric was because a student who got 3s in everything and was a fabulous writer but couldn't spell to save their life or never added a period or any kind of punctuation maybe got a 1 or a 2, and the whole paper would be a 1 or a 2 because you have to take because they weren't competent in every single area. So the conventions piece was taken out, and they're looking to maybe add that back in. So we had some discussion around that at the review board. And then we talked about our curriculum, having our online curriculum able to be accessed. A lot of people felt like at the very least the competency rubric should be put on because the teachers worked really hard to make those parent-friendly with parent-friendly language. So Brooke is in the process of getting all of that stuff updated. And I think that's everything.
Just briefly discussing not being able to make a meeting, the executive board meeting tomorrow night. I am probably going to be stuck in Massachusetts. Is there anyone on this board who has interest in attending as an alternate for the executive board?
When and where?
Pembroke. And it's early, usually
5,
it's
it's
like
5:30.
5:30 tomorrow.
It's
It
hard to
would
get
be super helpful because we're having that calendar discussion to have the rep from Deerfield there.
gonna be tight for me.
Everyone's looking at
Well,
me, so I'm wondering.
I have a meeting in the afternoon in Tilton, and depending on how long that goes, I will be going through Pembroke. But, the gentleman I'm meeting with sometimes it's revolves around his schedule. I can most certainly update his schedule, but can I give you an update?
Do you want to report, can you come if Zach can't?
Or,
I've scheduled my car inspection, which is due within 4 days at the end of the month.
Oh, that's
That could be a
tough.
problem.
I could move it.
My phone's dead.
Okay.
Otherwise, I
Yeah.
would check now.
Okay.
I would say, we can all communicate with Patty. If one of us knows you can make it, then, Patty can
Text and I'll text the other
call
person.
the.
I will,
rest of us off.
Yeah, okay. Thank you.
And you get a taste of the executive board.
Nice, lovely.
Yeah. All right, moving on to policies.
I don't think we have any ready for approval tonight. We're still working on the job descriptions and the evaluation for support staff. Did you have a chance to work with Cindy on the athletics policy? So that's not ready yet.
No.
And then suicide prevention is on for second reading. We're good?
I do have some changes to the athletics.
Do you wanna
I
wait?
can do it after.
Why don't we wait until we hear back from Cindy and then, or will it affect what Cindy has?
No, it shouldn't affect more semantics, it's more language than.
Okay.
It's not gonna change the spirit.
Okay. You wanna just pass those along? And-
Yeah.
Or do you wanna talk about that?
Briefly, really the only two things that I have are in that first paragraph. The sentence that starts with, in addition, both parks and recreation offer various athletic opportunities. I would just strike that entire sentence. There's no need to talk about parks and rec in school policy.
Oh, yeah.
And then in the last sentence, the B team level will have a comparable schedule with other Southeast League towns. When B teams are available, and we'll finish that whole heading.
The B team level will have a comparable schedule with,
Other Southeast League towns.
Or just say league towns? What if the league changes at some point? Do you want to name the specific league?
In
or-
the sentence before that, we say our
Surrounding.
it
team
says
level of
Southeast
play
League.
will represent
Gotcha.
in the Southeast League. The B team level will have a comparable schedule. I'm just trying to.
But does it need to be in the league? What if it needs to be? Like, what if there's just other B teams that aren't tied to the league, and you
Right.
could go interleague?
Well, it's a good point. That's a good point. I will leave that up to
Yeah.
you.
I don't know how that works with
Typically we've done it
school
with
athletics.
the
Isn't it part of?
other league towns,
Gotcha.
just
No.
because it's easier, but it is a good point.
Okay, any, for those the two?
That's it. That's it for athletics.
So let's not get into it because we were gonna wait to hear back
Yep.
from the athletic director. Okay, so policies are done, informational items.
yep, thank you.
We're
We were asked to look into the Department of Ed coming and doing an update on that 2010 letter when they came and sort of looked at our space, and I contacted the facilities person at the state, and there is no longer any funding for such school approval visits and opinions from the Department of Ed, so they're not able to send anyone out to update that. She did say that the standards haven't changed, so it's probably still as good as it was in 2010. We had two celebrations. Oh, sorry, go ahead.
Sorry, just thinking. How we should probably document that on that presentation. Somehow saying,
2010 was I think 472. I believe.
the 2010, what gave us
The 393
Yeah.
you said.
393.
missing the mark.
No, there was a number from the Department of Ed
Yeah.
on a letter. I thought it was 472.
I think it wasn't, I don't think it was in the threes. I don't remember.
We gotta find the letter.
Yeah, I have it,
Which
I have
know
It's in that presentation.
Okay, it
Yeah.
appears every time we have
Yeah,
this conversation,
Yep,
it
yep.
flows back to the
Yep.
top.
You know that we're supposed to have 178 square feet per student.
We'll figure it out.
Yeah.
Second, we had two celebrations. So the first was Karen Gersha has been named the Special Administrator of the Year for the entire state of New Hampshire. So we'll be headed to the Eddies again. Awesome. And the second celebration was
Bring Jimmy, let's get him see.
this beginning of January marked my 20th year in the SAU. So
Hey, you.
20 years.
Congratulations. We should have brought you pizza again.
I had a cookie.
Have a cookie.
Thank you, Zach.
Have a celebratory cookie.
A ham sandwich, sorry.
What was the official award for Karen? It was the
Special Administrator of the Year
Administrator of the Year.
for the state of New Hampshire. Yeah.
Thank you.
Are there any other informational items that anyone would like to add?
Okay.
Public comments.
I was just gonna thank a staff member.
Oh, go ahead, sorry.
And I'm drawing, Liz McGovern has been organizing the ski club. And, she's put a tremendous amount of work into it, and I am up there on Friday nights, and there's a lot of families enjoying it and spending time together, and I just wanna recognize, I think it's a great thing, and she's going above and beyond for the community, and, I really appreciate it.
Awesome.
Nice.
Anything else? Public comments? Public, any comments? Alright. Non-public session, as per NHRSA 91-A:32C, I would entertain the motion to go into non-public.
So moved.
Second.